So hello, everybody, and welcome to our Namaste Village Friday edition. It's lovely to be here. We have a wonderful surprise coming up here this morning in just a few minutes, but I want to begin by saying that it is Independence Day here in Mexico. So it's a big holiday. I'm sure there are going to be huge celebrations going on, which are going to be driving us crazy because we're very close to being downtown. But what I always say is that if you change your mind, the challenges become charms. They become charming. So that's how we're going to look at everything literally, because that's what we're here for, isn't it? To see everything through the eyes of love. And when you see everything through the eyes of love, it's kind of like Jet wearing his rose color heart glasses. It is all seen in light, as it would say in A Course in Miracles, to see everything in light, in love, through grace, no matter what. It's so simple. And every now and then an experience strikes that is so unexpected and yet so brilliant that reminds us of this, takes us there. And we're going to be hearing a sharing from someone right about now who's going to tell us about her adventure and her excitement. So I'm going to welcome Reverend Johannes to come up, and
yes,
you can have a seat. We have a separate microphone just for you.
Okay.
So good morning.
Good morning. What did you say when an unexpected strike?
An unexpected strike of love, something
yes,
like that.
Something. Yes, that's what had happened to me.
Why don't you begin? Well, not at the beginning, because that may go way back. It probably does. But wherever you think this strike of love's radiance happened.
When did you become a priest?
It was in February.
In February. So it all started in February. But before February, before anything, I would say good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me. When I was born in this little town in the Dominican Republic, a beautiful family, musical. We are 15 children, same parents, and we used to, there were piano and guitars and flute and everything. So we were singing every night and praying. We were very Catholic. My mother was like a mystic Catholic. And we used to read all the books of saints, and that's what we were reading. It was a beautiful, joyful, it is still, family. But as a child, I remember, since I have, awareness of my childhood, I wanted to be a priest. I used to go to the mass and look at the priest, and I was imagining myself to be a priest. Like I would go, my little mind would go crazy with, what if I were there? And I started these conversations with my mother. I want to be a priest. And she explained to me lovingly, there are rules, only guys can be priests. But I was not easy as a child. I was, why? Well, Johannes, because on and on. Why? And I talked to the nuns, I talked to the priests, and anyway, that was buried in my heart until February. Your ordination of February of this year. Of course, I went to college. I became an engineer. I didn't like to be an engineer. I had a TV show in Puerto Rico, in Telemundo, and I did some opera, so I was in the show business. And then I tried to be a Carmelite nun. There was something in my heart that was there, this longing that was unsatisfied, but I didn't know what was. And then I decided, no, El Carmelo, the convent was not for me. And then I wanted something more human. I became a teacher. I went and I got a master's degree in math and education. So that was nice. But still, there was this longing. I remember meeting Jack in Miami 22 years ago, and I was unsatisfied. I was a teacher, but there was something. And then I started singing spiritual music, which was, and still I sing, great. But then I became a unity minister, and that felt good as a unity minister, and I started my ministry and all that. Okay, so I met Bishop Ricardo in your ordination as a priest, and I told him, just smiling, hey, you know, as a child, I wanted to be a priest. And then he says, well, why don't you become an Anglican priest? And here I am. I was just like ready to answer. And I start crying. So the bishop looks at me and he's like, start crying. You come and join us. And you were like, what's going on? I mean, that's how everything starts.
Yes.
Okay. So we talked to Robin, the rector of the church, and everybody was supporting me, you and Robin and the leadership of the church. And then I start school. And there were some difficulties. I last like 4 months there, and I'm not going to give details, but I decided that I was not going to continue in the school. So, and everybody was, but this is your dream. You want to be a priest. And yes, but this is not right. There's something that is not. So I just decided, I left. And I'm not a quitter, okay? I keep going. When I want something, I just go for it. Until somebody, like as being an angel in my life, came with an idea.
And
Who is
was
that person?
Wait, I think that was me, wasn't
That
it?
was you. You, my angel. There was a meeting. You can talk about that. There was a meeting,
the church was really very sad that Johannes was not going to be able to serve as a deacon or a priest. And I had an idea, without going too far into this, the Anglican Church is in communion with what's called the Old Catholic Church, which was a splinter from the Roman Catholic Church. And I had been ordained as an old Catholic priest many years ago. And so I reached out to my friend, Bishop McCormick, and said, would you be willing to ordain Johannes? And that way it was kind of a trick play. We're going to go around the end. And that way, because we're in communion, then it's done. It's just the easy, simple way.
Yeah. And then, okay, the meetings. My husband was like, okay, are you sure you want to do this? Yes. So we had a meeting, you and Robin, the rector, and then we came with the idea of having a Spanish ministry in the Anglican Church. Exactly. We are going to serve the Mexican people here. It's in San Andrew, the services are in English. I was so excited with that. And of course, Mother Robin, she came with this idea. She gave me 17 books, and I have to do a book report of each of those books before being ordained as a priest.
So just to move us along, so then you decided to do this. And where did you just go?
Okay, I went to Louisville, Kentucky.
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 I like how you say that.
To be ordained as a deacon first. Then I had to go through this process of all these books and all these things for 6 months. Then we will bring Bishop McCartney to ordain me as a priest. Now, let me tell you the experience of meeting Bishop McCartney. What a holy man. What a beautiful human being. His inner peace, his joy, so I was 3 days with on Monday night, I met his family, same thing. They did a dinner celebrating my ordination as a deacon. So we were celebrating. On Tuesday morning, I was ordained as a deacon. And that was one of the most most holy moments that I have ever had in my life. The heart of the bishop, his words, the promises I did. It was more than 1 hour just reading and committing to be here for God. And then we went to the Gethsemane.
The monastery of Gethsemane, where Thomas Merton lived.
Exactly. We've heard the monks, the Trappist monk. Mm-hmm. What a place, what a beautiful place. You feel the holiness, the sanctity of the place. And then there was an area that says, do not enter. But of course, the bishop just, let's go here. So we got into the altar where Thomas Merton used to be with all people, the public cannot go there. So he asked me to kneel, and he blessed me again in that holy place. It was really beautiful. And then we went to an area where they show a documentary, and it's called One Day. And it's how the monks spent one day, which reminded me of when I was a cloister as a Carmelite. The same thing, you get up at 5 a.m. and then prayer, and it's all in silence and all these things. And it's like a 40-minute documentary, the whole day. What do they do?
So what would you say the highest, brightest gift was that you received?
Wow, so many gifts. But it's a combination of many things. To know that nothing is impossible. Mm-hmm. To know that your life can be taken to an unexpected way. You see, trust that there's a force beyond our human understanding that is really a charge of I felt that I was recovering, like my soul, this sin was buried there. So I was able to touch that.
So at least twice in your life, first when you were a little girl, and then during the seminary process here, you basically were told no.
Exactly. Like, yes.
But the longing was in your heart. And this is confusing for some people, because they'll think, well, but now you're metaphysical. Now you're doing much more open, much more inclusive. How can you fit yourself back into this form? And you know what the answer is? I don't know.
I don't know. That's what I tell people. What you are going to do? I'm like, I have no idea.
Yeah, there's no answer.
There is no answer.
Just and actually, to keep following the guidance.
And since the age of 19, I have been immersed in A Course in Miracles. I have read The Course in Miracles like 27 times. I go back to the lessons. I know people usually do the lesson one. No, I do it over and over and over. I mean, and people ask, finally get it right. And people ask me, but how are you going to consolidate these two things? I have no idea, but I'm going to serve here in Spanish. I mean, the people, the Anglican church, the vestries, the priests, everybody is opening for me to serve in Spanish, which is what is in my heart.
We serve where we're called to serve, don't we?
Exactly.
Yeah. And without questioning, without reasoning, well, but this group here thinks that, and that other person said something else. That has nothing to do with the call to serve. and the following the guidance that we receive, which sometimes may come out of nowhere or not make any sense like it was for you, or there are blocks, but you just, I remember the whole time you just held still and said, God's will be done. And then
yeah,
other doors opened and here you are.
yeah, and well, I had a lot of conversation with Bishop McCorney because he's very conservative,
Yes.
you see, in his beliefs. And I'm telling you, 3 days where we work together all the time and having all these conversations, deep conversations about the teachings of A Course in Miracles, unity. He asked me, well, what do unity teaches? What do you, and you say, Father Jimmy believes that. I say, Bishop, you have to ask him. But he was so open. And something that happened, just something. When we finished the watching the monastery, the one day documentary, he says, I would not last 1 week here. That was right there. And I'm like, really? He said, wait. If they allow beer, maybe I could stay 2 weeks. So,
well, there's a long tradition of beer in monasteries.
In monasteries.
Well,
so it was wow.
We are so blessed and grateful for your journey and you following that path of service. And obviously you're going to continue to serve in many, many ways here at Namaste Village and Namaste Ahihik, Unity Namaste Ahihik, and in the Anglican Church as well.
Yes,
so
yes. And I want to thank you in the name of Jack and me, the both of us. You have been so supportive. James, you have opened your heart since we came here the first time, and about the Unity Ministry. And then me as a priest, you have been an angel. And Jack and I talk a lot, how precious you are for both of us. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We just follow the yes.
Yes.
Just follow the yes. And you can't go wrong, because even when you come to a roadblock, okay, well, just turn around, keep going, don't stop. Most of all, be uncompromising. Like you have been uncompromising with that longing. You were uncompromising with your mother in the very beginning. Say, why can only men be priests? That is ridiculous. You were uncompromising the entire time you were doing the seminary program, because you were so committed, and yet there were some roadblocks that were put up. But whenever we are that uncompromising, another road opens, another window opens to reveal the right path. And so today this week being our dive into Joel Goldsmith, we're going to read a little bit of what Joel will say about that uncompromising spirit. And no matter where we find ourselves, in a Unity Church, Namaste Village, serving during the Spanish-speaking Mass of an Anglican church, none of that matters. None of the form matters. It's the essence. And the more essentially we can hold to the truth that we're about to hear, the deeper and more powerful that experience will be. So let me read this, because I came across it. This is, we're back in chapter 3 again, just because I'll be reading some and I have to include this. So this is what I found. There is but one life. This one is never in danger of sickness, accident, or death. This life is the life of individual being, the world of sickness, accident, and death. It is never necessary to direct a treatment to a person or an animal, but always to be alert and never accept any suggestion in thought of any other presence, any other power or activity than that of the one life. No other power but that one life, the one law, the one soul. Let's just pause there for a moment. Because Joel, the thing I love about Joel, or anyone else who has penetrated that veil and seen almost like the facade of an old Western movie set. Everyone is out on the streets with their cowboy outfits, and they've been lulled into the belief that this is a real town until one of them goes behind the facade and sees, no, this is not the real, there's a whole nother world behind. And then we realize that it doesn't matter healing people, fixing the situation. That's not the reason we're here. We're here for the one life, to penetrate that dark shadow and realize only oneness. Let me read a little bit more, then I'm going to turn this over to you. Okay, so let me back up a tiny bit. It is never necessary to direct a treatment or a prayer or anything to a person or an animal, but always to be alert and never accept any suggestion in thought of any other presence, any other power or activity than that of the one life, the one law, the one soul, to live constantly in this consciousness of good, of harmony, would dispel the illusion of sense, whether appearing as a sick or a sinful person. None of that matters. The declaration or constant affirmation of this truth would avail us but little, whereas the conscious awareness or the feel of it, really experiencing it, feeling it within you, would appear as healing or reformation, renewal, and even resurrection. That's a lot of words basically to say it's happening right now. It's happening right now. You can enjoy it right now, accept it, receive it right now, or put it off. It's totally up to you. And there's no right or wrong, but it is happening right now. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, it is happening. And that's what I encourage people to believe and to accept. Let me tell you, there's nothing more beautiful than being around loving beings. You can feel I don't even want to say energy, because you can feel their heart, their love, the way that they go through life. It was just so beautiful. My experience with Bishop McCormick was like that. And the demonstrating and knowing. We read these things that some people have been able to achieve, to demonstrate, to live. It is possible. It's what the Course in Miracles called the happy dream. It is possible, and that's what we are here for, to know over and over and over, to choose. Yes, we are going to have difficulties, like I had in the school, when I went to seminary again, because I was already in seminary with Unity. We are going to have difficulties, but the key is to face those difficulties with love, to respond to whatever we need to respond with love, and it is possible. The bishop asked me, what is love? I said, kindness, compassion, understanding. You see, but you do whatever you need to do. When I retreat from the seminary, somebody asked me, why don't you write a letter about, a person that I had difficulties with? I didn't feel like. I said, no, I don't feel like. I'm going to go. I'm not going to continue. But are you going to resign? I mean, this is your dream. I said, God will have a way of solving this. There must be another way, like Helen Schuttman says. And there was another way. It's just to believe that, to know it, to accept it in our heart. We are, like Jesus says in the Bible, you are the light of the world. That's what we are. So we can show the light in every situation we find ourselves.
Yeah, it keeps coming back to the consciousness and the consistency with our decision to want only one thing. And that thing may show up a different way every moment. Call it love, or call it all of those things that you just called. We can't define love. We can talk around it, but we can feel into it. That's what Joel was saying. We can feel into the love. We can't talk about it, because ultimately this is not a love that's conceptual. That's why he says here, we are here to live constantly in the consciousness of good harmony, and all of that dispels every illusion. To live consciously, constantly, consistently. That's the choice we make. And to also, the reason I love your story, Johannes, is because it stirs that ancient memory. Now, that ancient memory for you, because of your childhood, was to be a priest. But it's that, even that is symbolic of something deeper and brighter and bigger. Yes. And yet each one of us is going to have something in us like that.
And ultimately, it's nothing outside. It's a longing that you have in your heart, and nothing outside. I could be, it doesn't matter. I can go to a Buddhist monastery now. And I mean, it's the longing is in your soul. It's that being that we know that we are. Yes. That is what is calling us. Now, how do we want to express that? That's our choice. And in my case, I wanted to be in ministry as a child, as a priest, and then as a unity, a minister, which has been and continues being amazing. And now I'm going to this road. But ultimately, the longing is in your soul. Nothing will satisfy that connection, that you have to feel it in you.
Yes. Well, let's turn to Vicky for a moment, because we always love to get her perspective and your blessing as well upon our dear sister. Hold on one second, Vicky. Let me turn the volume up. Okay, there you go.
Yes, Vicky.
Thank you, Brother James, and thank you, Johannes, and thank you for demonstrating that longing. And we all have that longing. That's why we're all here this morning. And that longing does show up in every which way, you know, baker, candlestick maker, butcher, baker, all of it. It shows up in many ways. But what you said when you got ordained was that now you were here to serve God, which is what you've done all your life. And what is it when we serve God? But that in Joel's language, he says, we become transparencies for God, for God's love. That's what happens. And that's all any of us here want to do. And when we're here only to be a transparency for God's love, we share God's love in whatever way comes to us naturally, effortlessly. And your best example, Johannes, was not going through the schooling that the Anglicans were asking you for, knowing that it has to be done through grace. God's way is done through effortless grace. I've seen that in my own life. I think all of us have, if we look back to the story of unfoldment of only God's love. How am I here to share God's love? And that form comes to us because we stick to the feeling, what James calling the longing. When we stick to that longing, the obstacles fall away, the road opens before us, and the way that suits us in this particular vehicle of body and time comes through to us, no matter what form it is. And we are the transparencies of God's love. That's the only reason we are here. We're not here to get anything from God or from each other. We're here to give of the love that we're all feeling, that has called us together in a natural communion to be that transparency for love. So thanks for the example, both of you. James, you, just the way Johannes said, all the little things and the big things and the inspirations that come to you, you have been such a blessing, to, not just to the brothers and sisters in this room, in this Zoom, but to more than any of us could count. Thank you for always following, and your story of unfoldment has been very entertaining. It would be a great movie. But thank you both for following that call to love, that call to serve, the call just to be here to give of God's love, not to get anything from anyone, just give of that love, a transparency for love. And
Yeah.
bless you all, bless us all, and you as the example today of standing forth in fulfillment of the love given to you in a particular way in ministry, in holy orders, to give and express that love here today and then with all of us. Thank you. Bless you.
Thank you, Vicky.
Gracias.
You know, you were speaking about transparencies, and suddenly my mind went back to grade school. And it's one of those things that kids today probably don't even see. But do you remember, you know, there'd be like a sheet, a transparency sheet, and you would put it on this little thing with a light shining down on it. And it had to be totally transparent, because if there was nothing on it, there would be nothing on the screen. But then the teacher could write whatever he or she wanted, and there it would be on the screen. So we're called to be the transparencies of grace, so that the divine love itself can write upon us. And when that happens, it's broadcast to the whole classroom. Everyone can see it, because we have allowed ourselves to be transparent for the light to shine through. So it's so simple. And whether it leads to something like you experienced and will continue to share, or something totally different, but feel that longing and follow that. Any final words?
Yes, when we express that same love, same experience in different ways, I would like to read something from Milton Fillmore, which is the co-founder of Unity Ministry. That was because the story says I never met her. This was in
It's going to be our closing prayer.
Yes, and that she was enlightened.
1897 she wrote this?
Yes,
wow.
1897. She had a, like, I don't know, epiphany or an awakening moment, and she wrote this poem. I do not believe in evil. I believe in good. I do not believe in sin. I believe in truth. I do not believe in want. I believe in abundance. I do not believe in death. I believe in life. I do not believe in ignorance. I believe in intelligence. There are no discords in my being. Being is peace. Being is peace. My faith, understanding, and love are becoming one. My faith, understanding, and love are becoming one.
How beautiful. In fact, we'll even go further and say they are one. And I am becoming within that oneness.
Amen.
Each one of us is becoming the reality that has forever been real within that oneness. So wherever it takes you, be surprised, just as you were surprised. Wherever it takes you, be joyful, because you may not know and you may not be able to figure it out, but it's always going to lead to something really fun.
Yes.
That's how you know. God's grace and gifts are fun.
Yes.
And I wouldn't have it any other way. So thank you, dear Johannes. It's been wonderful to have you. Vicky, of course. Yes. Happy Friday to all of you. Of course, the Unity service will be here at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday, and you can join us next week. Well, we're going to continue this track down Joel Goldsmith Way. That's the street we're on, Joel Goldsmith Way.
Yes.
So we'll just continue seeing where that takes us. Until then, namaste. Namaste to all of you.
Bye.
Namaste. I love you.
Namaste.